It's a locust or a casita.
Cicada?
Yeah, it's a cicada. They're supposed to be really bad this year.
A casita.
They're off in the Kentucky Derby.
Interest of the greater good for me to smoke a joint and calm down.
I am the greatest. He'll fall an eight to prove that I'm great. And if he keeps talking Jack, I'm going to cut it to 5.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Ville Chillin' Podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about a little invention, I guess, from here. It's made news all throughout sports history, and that is the Louisville Slugger.
Yeah. Hey, Eazy-E talked about some Louisville Slugger, dude. That's what I think about. He had an awesome song.
Yeah, it doesn't really reference too much baseball, but I mean...
Well, you can use it for self-defense, too. You know, it's
yeah.
proactive and stuff.
Oh, man. Not only, though, did Louisville Slugger, of course, they have rich history in making actual baseball bats, but also the largest bat in the world, which is pretty cool.
Dude, that thing's giant.
It's literally the biggest bat in the world. I don't know exactly how tall it is. We'll probably get into that later. But Louisville's technically home to like the two largest bats in the world because Caulfield's has that.
Hey, we did a show about that.
And then we did. Oh, man. But I guess jumping right in, man, the history kind of tracks all the way back to 1842, I guess. That's not necessarily when, of course, bats started being made, but that's when J. Frederick Hillerich immigrated with his family to Baltimore, Maryland, and then they moved to Louisville in 1856. And this picture up here is an archived image. It's from 1892. And Bud Hillerich, who was the son of J. Frederick Hillerich, is kind of the one who started the whole thing. So this guy right here. Pretty crazy. He
Well, wait, what year was that?
This picture's from 1892.
Okay, yeah, they look like they are ready to either play baseball or kick some ass. I don't know about.
Probably a little bit of both.
But what year was it? Was that when he was born, or is that when it was invented? 1942.
No, so 1892 is when Bud Hillerich started making the bats. 1842 is when they immigrated to the U.S. And then in 1864, J.F. Hillerich started his business in woodworking. But at the time, he was just filling orders for like spindles and shutters and steamboat interiors. I'm sure he had a good business here for the steamboats.
Hey, yo.
In 1875 is when, 1875 is when the shop employed about 20 people. And around 1880 is when Bud, the son of the founder, became an apprentice in the shop. And he also played amateur baseball. So he started experimenting with making his own bats and bats for his teammates in around 1880. And same year, he played hooky from work, apparently, went and saw a professional game for the Louisville Eclipse. Yeah, the Louisville Eclipse. And one of the top players, Pete Browning, which that's a picture of Pete Browning, in 1884. So a couple years later, I guess. But in 1884, he went and saw a game, and Pete Browning was having some trouble, apparently. And so Bud offered to make him a bat. So he kind of followed him to the workshop, and Browning asked Bud to make him a bat to his own specifications. And in the next game, he scored 3 hits with that same bat.
Hey, yo, we got that hat trick.
And he ended up with the name the Louisville Slugger before it was actually coined a term for the bat itself.
So it was kind of named after the baseball player.
Yeah. that's when they ended up running with it. Further down, in one of the other articles, it mentions that the original name for the bats was Fall City Slugger, but when Bud took over the
Fall City Slugger.
yeah,
That just don't hit the same.
no, it definitely doesn't.
Eazy-E ain't over here like I just hit you with the
Ball City Slugger.
Nah, he ain't doing that. Nah.
Yeah, when Bud took over, he changed it to the Louisville Slugger. So in 1894, Bud was really passionate about making the bats. His dad did not want to keep making bats. He was more interested. He didn't think there was really a business. Of course, as you kind of pointed out, baseball was still pretty new at the time. So he didn't really see a business in baseball bats, which kind of makes sense. New sport, new business. You don't want to sink all your stock and everything into something that new.
They were definitely taking a risk by investing in it at that time before it really caught on.
Yep. But let's see. By 1905, Honus Wagner, he was known as the Flying Dutchman, and he was a superstar for the Pittsburgh Pirates, signed a contract as the first player ever to endorse a bat, and his autograph was also the first to be used on a bat. And allegedly, it's the first time a professional athlete ever endorsed an athletic product.
So like way before like the Jordans, like way before the Nikes and Adidas and everything, there was the Louisville Slugger. Is that what we were hearing?
The Louisville Slugger was
Hell
endorsed by the Flying Dutchman.
Hell yeah.
So, just another of many firsts that we've learned about that happened here.
Yeah. You ever watch any baseball yourself, bro?
No, not the biggest fan. I mean, it's a lot more interesting to watch in person, I guess, than actually on TV. But I don't watch sports at all, really. On TV.
Dude, it's
the only thing.
There's Cracker Jacks, dude, and beer. I think that's.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah. The last time I went to a baseball game was a Louisville Bats game when it was like $1 beer night. I mean, they were cups like this big, but still.
which is cool. The Louisville Bats, they're named the Bats, and then we have the biggest portrait of a bat and the biggest physical bat. So.
Of course.
Go Cards.
Talk about a hat trick.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So the bat business at that point was obviously doing pretty well if it got endorsement from such a major player. And in 1911, Frank Bradsby, a successful salesman... A successful salesman for one of the Hilleric's largest buyers, joined the company to, I guess, lend his marketing skills. He was pretty big into marketing and sales, and that's kind of where the founders, JF and Bud Hillerick, were kind of lacking. And in 1916, he became a full-time partner, and that's when they renamed the company to Hillerick and Bradsby Company. Unfortunately, just 20 years later, a big flood along the Ohio River hit the business with huge amounts of damage, and Frank worked nonstop to repair the factory and ended up passing that year. He had no heirs, but out of honor and respect for how much he did to grow the business, they left it the Hillerick and Bradsby Company. That shows how important his contributions were and how much he really helped grow the business, which of course we all know marketing and sales is a huge part of any business. Can't really go anywhere if you don't know how to sell the product.
Definitely, yeah.
What's up, everybody? We just wanted to take a quick pause and say, if you haven't already, make sure to like and subscribe. Drop us a couple comments. Let us know what you like, what you don't, and let us know what you think about the video. And make sure to share out with your friends and family. It really helps us a lot.
Yeah, we're on every social media platform. We're on every podcast provider out there. So whenever you get a chance, just give us a like, give us a follow. We definitely appreciate it. It really helps us out.
And with that, we'll get right back to it.
Yeah.
In 1939, of course, World War II came along. And as with many of the factories in the United States, they had to turn their attention from what they were making to making products to help support the war. And that includes the Hillerick and Bradsby Company. They began making gun stocks for the M1 carbine, track pins for tanks, and billy clubs for the armed forces. And what'd they call them over here?
It was Betty the Batmakers.
Betty the Batmakers, yeah.
So just like there was Rosie the Riveter, there was Betty the Batmaker.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
It's pretty awesome. Obviously at that time is one of the first times women were allowed to work in factories, and they must have done a hell of a job because that rack of rifle stocks looks pretty damn nice to me.
Very organized.
Oh man! In 1970, after the war, baseball, of course, carried on as the country's passionate pastime, and the Louisville Slugger at the time was literally dominating as the bat of choice for some of the greatest players. Since the contract with Honus Wagner in 1905, you had Babe Ruth, Joe DiMaggio, Ted Williams, Jackie Robinson, Roberto Clemente, Hank Aaron, George Brett, Ken Griffey Jr., and Derek Jeter, all primarily, if not exclusively, using Louisville Sluggers. So that's a lot of big names in the sport, right along the lines of Michael Jordan and, Kobe Bryant having Nikes.
Right.
Or whoever they had. I think just Jordan has Nikes, but you know what I'm saying.
Jordan got Jordans, bro.
Made by. So in 1995, in 1970, they had to move the factory across the river to southern Indiana, which is like the only time that the plant hasn't been in Louisville, I believe.
You can throw a rock there, so it's still in Louisville.
It's close enough, yeah.
It's a good part of Indiana.
But regardless of that, the headquarters has always remained in Louisville.
Dude, look at that bat. Like that bat's like bigger than a building.
It is taller than the building that they work out, or that the headquarters is in, which is 800 West Main Street, about 7 blocks from the Carpentry shop. That's pretty crazy. I wish...
Dude, is that a camera up there? Wait, go up. Is that a spotlight?
I think that's a light.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I wish it said just how tall it is. It doesn't say how tall it is. I might have to look that up. But it's obviously tall, It's
That's like a 5-story building?
Yeah, that's a 5-story building, so the bat's at least 6 stories tall.
Yeah.
Oh, it's obviously easy to find the museum where you can still go and see the process that they go through to make the bats and some of the history that's come along with it, some more of those pictures. Probably signed bats from various people who have used them. And it's pretty easy. All you have to do is drive down Main Street in downtown Louisville and look for the bat.
Yeah.
Obviously, since it sticks up over the building, you don't even have to see the whole bat. Just look for the handle sticking up.
Right.
Yeah.
Just go straight.
It's like the North Star.
Right.
Oh, man. In 2015, they actually had to sell the company to Wilson Sporting Goods. However... H&B still owns the Louisville Slugger Museum and factory and the production facility. So they just make them exclusively for Wilson. I think in 1970, something I kind of glanced over too, they started making aluminum bats as well.
Okay, so they cross over. They didn't just keep it strictly. Yep. That's one thing I was wondering if they'd become outdated at some point. But yeah, it's really cool that they branched out and did that. And now they're doing like custom designs, whether it be wood or metal. Yeah,
now you can go to their website and look at different custom.
They get pretty fancy, man. Like that's kind of trippy looking.
Yeah,
it's like glow in the dark or something. That's smart.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I wonder if they do the painting and everything in house too. But yeah, you can get custom wood bats, custom aluminum bats, all kinds of stuff just from Slugger.com. And speaking of Slugger.com, they had to pay a pretty penny for that domain, I would think. It's not Louisville Slugger or the Louisville Slugger. It's just Slugger.com. Unless they got into the .com boom like early, I bet they paid a penny for that.
Hey, but they were doing good marketing back in the early 1900s, so they might have been in front of it. Who knows?
That is true. Some interesting stats that you can find on the Louisville Slugger website as well. I thought it was pretty interesting. Number of plate appearances by Derek Jeter in his 2-decade career, all of which came with him holding a Louisville Slugger P72 bat, 12,602. At the onset of his career, Babe Ruth swung a monster 50-ounce bat, the heaviest Louisville Slugger model ever turned. Man.
And that's before steroids. Like that's
before they were
strength.
Popular. They were just for bodybuilding competitions.
Right,
then
horses. Speaking of the Derby, we talked about the Derby last week. If y'all missed it, 7 Days of the Derby.
We did. Check out that series. We also, since we talked about steamboats earlier, we did an episode on that last week. So
we just cross-referencing everywhere.
The Louisville Slugger factory has made 8,000 different variations of bats. That's a lot. Like, me not being a baseball or even like a sports fan, I can't imagine there being that many variations to a bat. You know what I'm saying? I'm guessing, sure, different lengths and a few different weights, but that just seems crazy to me. 8,000 different variations. And the number of wood bats that leave the H&B factory in Louisville every year, 1.8 million.
Dude.
That's wild.
Yeah, Eazy-E's right. Half those are being used for self-defense. There is no way there's that many people playing baseball. Like,
there's definitely not. And I mean, even then, there's not even half that many people playing baseball.
Well, they break too.
That's why I said,
ones.
Okay, so say half of that number. Half of that number is still 900,000. There's not 900,000 people playing baseball in the U.S.
Yeah, they just using that for self-defense.
I guess you have kids, you got T-ball leagues, you got little league, you got softball, fast pitch.
It's for when the second isn't the first choice. Louisville Slugger, Eazy-E.
Oh man, and again, it all started when Bud just decided to skip work. Ted Williams said he would have been stuck at 290 hitter without the Louisville Slugger, and he ended up having a 344 batting average for his career. Some other interesting pictures here. The factory workers produced munitions for troops overseas. I don't know if we can get a better picture of that. Can't really see too much there, but Jackie Robinson with National League President Ford Frick during Robinson's Silver Bat Award presentation for his accomplishments during the 1949 season. Mickey Mantle and I'm going to put that up, Kayleen display their Louisville Slugger Award, June 1957. Tony Gwynn inspects a Louisville Slugger bat on one of his many visits to the factory in the 1990s.
They capitalized the L in Slugger. It threw me off.
Yeah.
Slugger, bruh.
Slugger. So, yeah. Betty the Bat Makers. That's still really awesome. Derek Jeter, I've used the same bat since day one in the major leagues. So, sure, he might have broken a couple, but, same model.
Same, right, yeah. That's why they got there's something like 8 million of fucking, or what is it, 1.8 million a year?
1.8 million a year, man. That's a lot. So, again, just to recap on some other facts, in 1946, Jackie Robinson was signed to a bat contract nearly 6 months before joining the Brooklyn Dodgers. Hank Aaron hit his 715th career home run, surpassing Babe Ruth in 1974 with a Louisville Slugger. Cal Ripken Jr. breaks Lou Gehrig's consecutive games played streak, appearing in his 2,131st straight contest with a Louisville Slugger. And the Louisville Slugger marketed the company's first internally designed and manufactured composite material bat made from aerospace-grade fibers and epoxy resins in 2005. It says the Catalyst bat is a huge hit in the softball and fast-pitch markets, with the University of Michigan fast-pitch team using the bat to win the Women's College World Series.
Man, that sounds like something off like Elon Musk would make or something, dude. What the,
Yeah, but no, it was a Louisville Slugger, man.
Nice.
One cool quote from Bud Hilrich, the young man who skipped work just to go watch a baseball game. We did not build a model and give it to the player to use. The player told us what he wanted and we built it. I think that's pretty cool in this day and age. And even in that day and age, getting custom made things isn't always the cheapest. It's not always the easiest. And in that day and age, I'm sure they could have just mass produced one specific thing and ran with it because it was the heyday of baseball. It's when it all started. But for them to take the time to...
It is marketing. I mean, it's really good marketing. You make the best product and get it in front of the people that's going to appreciate that, right? Like, so he went directly to the players, like you said, asked them what they wanted, and then built it based on it. So, call into work, and invent something. No, what comes to mind is Hey Arnold, dude. Like, again, I wasn't one of the biggest baseball. I wasn't a big baseball fan either, but like Hey Arnold, I remember them like playing baseball in New York, which again, it was a big city. I'm pretty sure it was New York, but definitely memories of like them. They were rocking Louisville Sluggers, I think, for real.
Probably.
Yeah.
What else would they be using? Louisville Slugger's obviously the best. It's trusted by the best, and it's used by the best.
Dude,
so,
and it's not made in China; it's made in the Ville.
Exactly, it is made here. Although, I think Wilson Sporting Goods, it's an arm of Amer Sports, which itself is an arm of a Chinese company. But the Hillerk and Bradsby continues to manufacture Louisville Slugger bats in its Louisville factory, even though it's under. They're a subsidiary of a subsidiary of a subsidiary, I guess.
So, are you saying that it's a Chinese company now that the Louisville Slugger's under?
Yes. In 2015, they sold to Wilson Sporting Goods, which is an arm of one company, which is an arm of another, but it still provides much-needed jobs to people here in Louisville. Oh, man. So one thing to note, I guess, before we end it off, over 90% of the bats ever produced have been made from northern white ash grown in proprietary forests on the New York-Pennsylvania border. In one of the articles we looked at, they actually contracted with a company out of Pennsylvania to ensure that they always have wood to keep making the bats. And ash trees in the U.S. are now under attack from the emerald ash borer, an invasive insect species native to Asia and first detected in Michigan in 2002. So very few ash trees actually remain in the forests, and the company is beginning to heavily utilize other woods such as maple and birch.
And those emerald ash borers, they're kind of like cicadas, dude. They're messed up, dude. Like, they're going to be really bad this year, so.
Yeah. I don't think they're cicadas, but
they're related, though.
I don't know. We didn't look that much into that, but you can say it.
I did. Dude, the Louisville Slugger is pretty cool, though, if you think about it. It's been everywhere from, like, war. Mm-hmm. Like, they sold it to, they used it during military. They sold it to the Army and stuff to use overseas. Pretty sure they sold it to, like, cops for, like...
the billy clubs and stuff.
Billy clubs. So it's everywhere from like entertainment to like military and
all over the U.S.
Self-defense.
Yep. Thank you, Eazy-E.
Yes. R.I.P.
Yeah, it is pretty awesome. It's pretty amazing. The story behind it, just another thing to come out of Louisville. We just keep finding more and more things and places of pretty significant, just of historic significance. So, pretty awesome.
Definitely.
Awesome story. We need to check out the museum. It's been a long time since I've been there. But again, if you're ever in Louisville and if you're not from here, just look for the giant bat. Take a stop at the museum. You can find ticket pricing on their website. You can get a custom bat. They have a gift shop.
Stickers.
I remember my dad used to carry one of those small Louisville Sluggers like this big. He used to have one in his car.
One of those too. I think I didn't know. I guess those were like a souvenir that you would get there or something, right?
Yeah, he kept it in his car for
nice.
for the self protection. But anyways, I guess with that, you got anything else to add?
No. Go bats, Louisville bats, Sluggers, go Sluggers.
I guess with that, we'll end it here, and we will see you all in the next one.
Yeah.
They're off in the Kentucky Derby.
Interest of the greater good for me to smoke a joint and calm down.
I am the greatest. He'll fall an ace to prove that I'm great. And if he keeps talking jive, I'm going to cut it to 5.